Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
And they're off in the Remsen. As they come on for the finish, and it's going to be tight here in the Remsen. Mo Donegal bearing down on the outside. It's Mo Donegal and early voting, and it is Mo Donegal to win the Wood Memorial. And it will be Mo Donegal to win the Test of the Champion, the Belmont Stakes.
Okay, good evening everybody. Geo Sette with Past the Wire. Coming at you tonight to go over the very specifics, full race analysis for the Grade 1 Florida Derby, which of course is going on this Saturday, April 1st at Gulfstream Park. And by the way, many of you who are in tune to this channel, you know the quality that Past the Wire brings to you all the time. It's something I think you should really embrace. I wanted to thank most of the folks that have been following and have been providing a real significant readership to my columns over the last 5 years. As you know, if you're familiar with me, I cover thoroughbred racing at its best for Past the Wire. All the Grade 1 races, not just Triple Crown, all the prep races for the Triple Crown, but throughout the summer, the Haskell at Monmouth, of course, the Saratoga's great races. So you should be familiar with me. If you're not, then listen up, because you're going to get some pearls tonight as we talk about the Florida Derby. But, you know, there's so many outlets now on the internet, and not many people, you know, tell it like it is. You know, there's too much filtering going on. Past the Wire, we give it to you raw, unfiltered, significant amount of experience from the heart, scientific, and with substantial thoroughbred racing knowledge. Those are key elements for you to make an informed decision for yourself as we go over and break down races, providing an analysis for you so you can enjoy the game a lot better and be more successful. All right, so with that said, and like I said, I appreciate the readership. For many years, all I did was exclusive columns. This year, turning into a video. I'm still going to write my columns on the big three, of course, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont Stakes, and many through the year at Saratoga and so on. I mean, for example, the Triple Crown is what it is, so I just get the joy out of writing about it. So I may be part of a seminar or two, but there's going to be a few races prior to the big dance, prior to the Run for the Roses, that I'm going to offer in a video method articulating the very specifics to you. And that's what you need. So I want you to take this as if you're sitting next to me and we're talking horses, so you have a better understanding of how you should approach the race, okay? All right, so without further ado, let's go over the field. Now, because I didn't write a column, I have my notes, which I'm going to refer to, but I'll be looking at you guys. So I'm going to take you through the field. Of course, Gulfstream Park, race number 14, 9 furlongs. Of course, now we're getting to the big numbers, you know, mile and an eighth, Grade 1, of course. And it's 6:40 post time. So whatever you're doing Saturday, and by the way, I promise you this, if you watch the show, you listen to what I have to say, in the comments, you can ask questions. It's not only me. Listen, Jonathan Stetton, the crew chief of Past the Wire, the editor, crew chief, and the Pick Six King, the wealth of knowledge that the man has, you need to leverage that. You can do the same for me. Talk to me. So in the comments, ask a question. We'll give it to you ripe and raw. We'll give you the answer. All right? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. You know, listen, I respect everybody who loves the game. I respect all handicappers, you know, when they know what they're talking about. That's important. Sometimes I listen and I say, what? You know, where did that come from? So listen, John Stetton, myself, any question regarding any handicapping angle, anything scientific, the wealth of experience that we can provide for you to answer your questions, you're not going to get that anywhere else at the higher level than you're going to get from us. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about the Florida Derby. Number one, all right, Jungfrau. Now, Jungfrau is a nice-looking gray, right? Paco Lopez up for Belmont. Right off the bat, automatically have to have a degree of respect for Belmont. Great horseman, great conditioner, all right? His grade 3 withers, nothing to write home about, but he is the son of Arrogate. Arrogate was a beast, the late Arrogate, when he was racing. The horse has had 4 trouble trips in his 4 races. You know, if you watch the race when he graduated, when he broke his maiden special over the track, so he's raced at Gulfstream once and he won. So when he was placed first through to disqualification, even though he was a nose off the wire. But you know what? The horse is pretty game. So he's got that intangible. You know, in this race, I think there's going to be a move forward. The withers was just so bad. So I'm going to get into, after I talk about every horse down the line, then I'm going to go over the specifics in terms of my selections and what you're going to, and I know beforehand, if you follow the game, everything's going to circle around Forte, but he's the 11th horse in the field, and we're going to get to that, okay? All right, so Jungfrau, nice-looking horse. I think he's going to improve some. I don't know if he's good enough to improve at that magnitude to be a threat here. But I know he's conditioned well, and his last was just too bad. So I'm not going to disregard him entirely. I'll go over that later. All right, West Coast Cowboy is the 2. Sonny Leon. You know, how can you forget what he did in the Kentucky Derby? But, you know, he's a pretty good jock. He's up for Safi Joseph, who's got a quartet, 4 horses in this field. I've always respected Safi Joseph too, because he has his way over in Florida and Gulfstream. He's got a real good barn. Son of West Coast. He's got improving buyers, you know, specifically a 48 to begin his career. He goes to an optional claim. He runs a 64 and then a 77 in the Holy Bull. Nice races, you know. I know he'll eventually improve, but I don't know if he can improve enough to be a threat in this race as well. He does have a nice breeze coming into the race. And like I said, he's relatively lightly raced. Raced twice as a juvenile, made his first start as a 3-year-old. Like I said, he was competitive. He was cold at the window, but, you know, it was a pretty good run. I'm not entirely sure how he's going to come out of that race. I like others. Others are more appealing. All right, Shaq Diesel is the 3. A couple very compelling things about Shaq Diesel. from a body of work perspective. All right? So he's got 8 races in his career. One of the more experienced 3-year-olds in a race. Okay? He does have 2 very nice, impressive wins over the surface as a juvenile at Gulfstream Park. I watched the races. You know, he beat a horse soundly, Zydeco, who came back and won a couple times too. He's a pretty fast horse. But that was obviously against weaker company. He's got a couple of nice breezes coming into the race. But as a 3-year-old with many chances, he just hasn't had that killer instinct that you'd like to see. His risen star at Fairgrounds was just a race to forget. I watched it a few times. You know, I'm turned off by some things, and a horse that weakens and falters that badly, it raises concerns. But to me, when you got to do battle at 9 furlongs, and that was his first time doing it, wow. Listen, the blink is coming off, may be a factor. You know, Miguel Vasquez, his rider, knows the oval very well. Like I said, he's one of many that are going to be in the area of 30, 25, 30, 40 to 1. Big price, a lot of experience. You can't dismiss his races over the surface. So I'll talk a little about how I'm going to use him later on. But I don't think he's a threat to win the race. Let's move on. We're going to go to number 4, Mage. You know, there was some handicap. I couldn't even pronounce him right. He was saying Maggie. It's Mage, like Page, Mage. Anyway, nice looking colt, son of good magic, $290,000 yearling purchase. Luis Saez adds to the appeal, no doubt. The barn is pretty consistent. All right, so Mage is going to get consideration, no doubt, at the window. The presence of Luis Saez and his great skill, especially the fact that the horse is going to be tactical, probably demonstrate some speed. So you're not going to get great value with the horse. He is the son of Good Magic. Good Magic was a horse I loved, trained by Chad Brown, and, you know, his path through Triple Crown, you know, just missed winning the Derby. He'd done a lot of damage that year. He won the Haskell by open lengths. And he's been producing. He's been a great sire. Not significantly great, but a pretty solid performer. You know, a lot of the boys that he's produced have done well. So Mage is the son of Good Magic. The Fountain of Youth, the fact is, Forte flat out beat him on a square. I mean, and then some. You know, just about 7 lengths away. No doubt the rider change to Saez will be an improvement, because when a quality rider rides a horse for the first time, you're expecting an advancement in terms of if there's more that they're going to ask the horse to do, a quality rider is going to get it done. All right? His recent 6 furlong breeze, not really impressive. I was sort of on the fence with this horse. Lightly raced, just 2 races. Haven't been in a lot of dog fights. You know, his maiden win over the track was very impressive. He was ignored at the window, won it first asking his debut. Basically wired the field. There was no competition that day. But you got to have a little more to eventually stretch out to 9 furlongs and to be a threat to a horse that's already beaten him on a square and then some. All right, so that's my thought on Mage. Let's move on to number 5, Mr. Peaks. This is Safi Joseph's second. Remember, Safi Joseph, he's got 4 horses in a race. Good trainer, knows what he's doing. I think he could be in over his head this race, but, he's got 4 going. So you got to take a look on race day, how the horses are behaving. Look at the post-parade. Check the board, see what's hot and what's not. That may give you an indication, all right? Because it is the Florida Derby. It's a huge day at Gulfstream. So Mr. Peaks, the son of California Chrome, 2 races, 6 furlong sprints, so they're stretching him out. And he's facing winners for the first time. So that's a big jump. So expect some inflated odds from this guy. Gonzalez is a capable rider. But like I said, not overly impressed. Too much to ask a horse to win his 3rd lifetime start. Did not run as a juvenile. I took a look at him. He's not imposingly built. But he had 2 decent races. He graduated. He's a maiden still. He didn't even win. So I was thinking about the next horse, which I'll get into, that graduated. So Mr. Peaks, I'm not going to use him. Too much to ask for. Not seasoned enough. Going to move forward from him. Nautical Stars, the 6. This is Safi Joseph's. His horse recently graduated by a nose, Oaklawn Park. All right. He's stretching out, just as his stablemate, Mr. Peaks. So whenever you go 6 panels to 9 furlongs, just think of the task ahead of the horse. So I think that what they did in Florida with Safi Joseph here, they had to make the Florida Derby an eventful field. It couldn't be Forte against 4 or 5 others. So they made a bigger field here. Some of his horses should show improvement, but to be confident about a horse stretching out, facing winners for the first time, his numbers were decent. He's got some kick in his clothes, but remember, the pedigree isn't entirely for the distance. Not impressive at all. And just because a horse is getting more distance and he's a closer, doesn't mean he's going to close well at 9 furlongs. So I'm going to pass on Nautical Star, the 6. He'll probably be big odds. He'll probably be in the area of 40 or 50 to 1. Okay, the 7. El Miracolo. Nice guy, Antonio Sano. Has a pretty good barn over in Florida. Son of Gunrunner. Now listen, Gunrunner was an absolute beast. All right? So I open my eyes and I look further when I see a son of Gunrunners running. Very experienced, just as experienced, more than just with one other horse in a race with 8 starts, as I spoke about. Shaq Diesel. I believe Shaq Diesel's the other one that had 8 starts. Let me double check that. I'm pretty sure. Shaq Diesel. All right. So, Fountain Youth, Forte, dominated. This horse was 20 lengths past. Going back. Had some trouble. I tried to find an excuse for him, but he was uneasy. He didn't seem like he had a lot of run left in him in the stretch. Beaten almost 20 lengths by Forte. So obviously you'd have to have a tremendous reversal of fortune. Is he capable of improvement? Because his daddy was a monster? Absolutely. He does have 2 pretty good works for the race. I like the race, the work over the track, Gulfstream Park, 59-3 breezing. His numbers are just too light. He needs to step up. You wouldn't think, and they're trying to put blinkers on him now, so an equipment change. Based on him having a big-time daddy, down the road, I think he'll improve. This is too tough of a spot for him. His buyers need to be dramatically improved. He's had many chances. His only win is when he graduated going a mile. Can't endorse. Number 8 is Mr. Ripple. Saffie Joseph again, his 4th starter. Now, this horse is interesting. He does have tactical speed, pretty good quality tactical speed, which, he's going to have his own advantage, if you want to call it, early. So look for him to be up early with a decent break. His races are nice. He's actually a nice colt, not terribly imposing, but a nice looking colt. He ran as a juvenile, won his first by 9. He looked pretty dynamic that day. Then he comes back 4 months later in the optional claimer. He's bet at the window, performs well, beaten by Cyclone Mischief, which we're going to get into in a bit. But then his next race, bet well at the window again. He should have emerged victorious. I think he has a look of a horse that probably is going to be somewhere in the area of a grade 3, maybe a little better. Good start to his career. I just don't know if he has that killer instinct in him. And he's another one of those fillers. Respectfully speaking, Saffie Joseph probably would have had one in this race. It's the Florida Derby, so they got to fill the field. His other starters that are sprinters stretching out for the first time, facing winners. Talk about a reach. Now, if there was a dynamic way about them, then maybe, but don't see it. So let's move on. All right, get into the thick of it because I like a lot of outside horses in this race. Cyclone Mischief, the 9 horse. Nice looking colt. $450,000 son of Into Mischief. I'm a big fan of Into Mischief horses, as many prognosticators and handicappers are. Big time sire. Dale Romans, listen, at one time he'd pop in many big races. For whatever reason, I can't identify. Over the last few years, he hasn't. But a lot of experience with him. He is putting him in this race. Seasoned. He's hit the board 4 out of 6 races. He's a powerful looking colt. But he's basically underperformed. I watched every one of his races. Now, he's won twice. He broke his maiden convincingly. Then they stepped him up into a grade 2, showed speed, faltered. Then he won an optional claimer. But his last 2 this year, as a 3-year-old, the Holy Bull and the Fountain of Youth, he improved. So I think he's going to get better. And he could hit the board. Castellano, very capable rider. He's actually having a great year so far. I'm going to get into where I'm placing him, but this horse is a threat. Not to win. He'd have to run the race of his life to beat Forte. But for the most part, it looks like he's good enough to fill your superfecta or triple. Okay, we're up to number 10. Then we're going to get into the big guy. So right now, the 10, Fort Bragg. All right? Listen carefully here. I studied this guy pretty hard and long, all right? Son of Tappet, big time check. $700,000, son of Tappet. Tim Yak team, shipping him over from the West Coast. So most of the time, listen, you think about this. The connections here could have kept him in California and ran him in the Santa Anita Derby. They're bringing him to Florida to run the Florida Derby. Joao Rosario, who is over the past 7 years has been a big game rider. Now, for different reasons that we don't know entirely, he hasn't been as consistent or running or riding with that same type of command as he always did. But the stage is set. He's got the talent, the capabilities, very strong arm in the reins. So Rosario up for Tim Yakteen is compelling, especially because Tim Yakteen could have used J.J. Hernandez or even Flavian Pratt. I'm impressed with what I saw on film in race replay with this horse. His buyers are comparable, not as good as Forte, but I think he's training well. I like his workouts on the West Coast, going 6 panels handily, not once but twice. It's his second race as a 3-year-old. The San Felipe, if you look at it, yeah, you could classify him as weakening, but it was his first of the year. I didn't think the race was a great race. Did he have an opportunity from his position to run big in the stretch and win? Yeah, but I don't know. We haven't seen the best of this guy. So I kind of feel that Fort Bragg is sitting on a big race. There's reasoning why they would ship him from California. And believe me, I look at all shippers, differently. I'm not just saying, taking it for granted, oh, they're bringing him from California, he's going to run big. No, I got to see the performance over the track. I have to see the intangibles that I look for. I was impressed, and I'm gonna get into it later. I don't think he could pull off the upset, but he's a serious threat to fill your exacta and your triple. All right, we reached the big cheese, number 11, Forte. Everybody and their sister's cousin should be talking about him. Champion 2-year-old. If he wins the race, as he should, he'll probably be the favorite for the Run for the Roses first Saturday in May. On paper and on tape, his performances over the track and the numbers just make him that much better than everybody else. Todd Pletcher's won this race. I believe it's 6 or 7 times already. Florida Derby. I read OTs. No one's riding better than him right now. You know what? The morning line says 4 to 5. I was telling a group of friends that, you know what? He may be 1 to 5. It may be that type of decisive window action. The number 11 horse at Gulfstream, that post position for 9 furlongs, a mile and an eighth, I believe it's somewhere in the area of 2 for 50. So if you want to bank on that, you can. But how many of those horses were Forte? So his body of work, wonderful, dynamic and hopeful. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile, he beat Cave Rock. That all the buzz with Cave Rock. He beat him well. His path to this race, clearly it's a prep to the big prize, the Kentucky Derby. I can't go past him. I can't use anybody over him. He's 5 for 6. His one race at Saratoga, the Grade 3 Sanford, where he was bet, he was wide, and he basically didn't have it that day. Listen, that's what's unfair about this sport sometimes. You could do your work, and believe me, I know this probably more than any one of you. You could do so much right with your work, your handicapping, every specific detail in the racing form. And you have to understand every detail. You could spend 13 hours handicapping one race, do everything right, and still get beat. It's an unfair sport at times. But somebody like myself, I position myself for much greater success those that read my columns, those that follow me, those that follow Past the Wire and listen to guys like John Stetton and myself, over a period of time, you're going to be significantly more successful. Okay? So no guarantees. But when we like a horse, he's going to perform unless something freakish happens. But for the most part, Forte should emerge victorious. And then it's going to be very interesting in the Kentucky Derby. Post positions are going to be essential. Todd Pletcher's got 2 other colts that are training really, really well. He's got a fabulous filly that's going to go on Oaks Day on the undercard. Tappet Trice. And the horse that just, he performed. He won the Tampa Bay Derby. And the horse that just won the Louisiana Derby, Wire to Field. So there's a good chance Pletcher's going to have 3, maybe 4 horses start at the Kentucky Derby. But Forte, if he comes out of this race well, winning of course, and fit, he's going to be favored for Saturday May. All right? That's how significant he is, and that's why it's very difficult to put anybody over him in your wagering opportunities, in your exotics, and your multi-race weight. It's a big card. So let me finish. Let me talk about the 12 horse, then I'll give you my selections, and then I'll talk to you about a couple other things just to give you a hint that you could, that'll help you with Past the Wire. All right? The 12, Dubunel, another son of Good Magic. Nice looking colt. Impressed with him. 400,000 as a yearling. Danny Gargan. Tons of respect for Danny Gargan. Big New York trainer. Jose Ortiz. The last race, the Sam F. Davis, I threw out completely. Just like people have bad days, horses have bad days. Mama said, some days are like that. So his race at Aqueduct in a slop, the Remsen grade 2, he looked good. He dueled. He fought hard in the stretch. And I was impressed with that. Then he came back a month, 5 weeks later for the Sam F. Davis, and he came up empty. It's the bottom line. But between his pedigree, the investment the ownership group had put into him, he's training well. There's only one way for this horse to go, is up. I think he's built for the distance. So he's not going to win from the 12 hole, but I'm going to give him some consideration to be there in the exotics. All right? All right, so without further ado, and by the way, any questions, please go to the comments and ask, and we'll provide, either myself or Jonathan Stetton. Okay? We value what you would like to ask. And of course, follow us going forward if you haven't already. I know those that read my column will be there, but there's a lot of folks that should embrace what we share at Past the Wire to a greater level. All right? All right, my precise order. Florida Derby 2023. Top choice, Forte. Can't go past him. Probably 2 to 5 or 1 to 5. So watch him win. Let's hope he comes out of the race feeling good and ready for the run for the roses. My exacta, the horse I think is most likely to be my second, finish second, is the West Coast Shipper, Fort Bragg. Joao Rosario for Tim Yakteen. So 11-10. Then Jose Ortiz, horse I just spoke about, Dubunel, the 12. He's going to fill my triple, my cold triple. I grudgingly gave a toss-up for my fourth position between Cyclone Mischief and Mage. Look, Cyclone Mischief I will use more in my exotics. Mage has Luis Saez. He's got something to prove to me. Lightly raced. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to finish the race well. He's going to have to prove some more over the track for me, making just his third start. And the horses that I feel are most probable to make their presence felt, to improve and maybe hit the board at a big number to fill your superfectas, that would be the 3, Shaq Diesel, and the 5, Mr. Peaks. All right, I got my notes all over the place here. Like I say you get it in the raw. There's nothing more raw than this, right? I told you, like you're sitting next to me. Folks, this game is, the Sport of Kings is just that. It's a great game, great sport. There's a lot of intrigue, but there's so much that you need to consider with your past performance handicapping, with your film study. Horses are creatures of habit. So you see their behavior in your film study. You see their ability with your own eyes when you watch replays. That's what I do. So, and pedigree is essentially important. At least to me it is. So if you're seasoned in the game, you can relate to what I'm saying. If you're not, you're a new kid on the block and you're checking us out, hey, follow us at Past the Wire. By the way, I have some friends that have been loyal to me, readership that's been loyal to me. I got one guy, he says, hey, Geo Sette, he enjoys Chinese food. He says he's set for life with his Chinese food orders. He doesn't cook. I cook all day long. But because of the money and the success he's had reading my columns and following Past the Wire, okay? Listen, the body of work is there, all right? If you've been with us the last 5 or 6 years, I don't need to speak anymore, all right? We all want to make some money. We want to have fun. Look at it as an investment opportunity, okay? These big races, the grade ones, serious stuff, all right? You can't go around playing names and numbers. The work's got to be done. You could trust that we do the work. All you need to do is listen and ask questions, all right? So thank you so much. I do appreciate your time. There'll be other videos, but I promise there'll be a continuance of my columns, especially for the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes, which, by the way, Belmont Stakes, last 3 years, crushed it. Exacta, exacta, exacta. Cold, triple, cold. Hey, we take the good and the bad, but we position you for more success at the races. Take it easy. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.
Tracking trips with Pick 6 King John Stetton. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit pastthewire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
They're off in the Curlin, Florida Derby. 3 quarters in 112-1. Known Agenda is now on to take over the lead. It's Known Agenda for St. Elias Stable. Florida Derby winner, Known Agenda.
Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING. Get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator exclusively on DRF Bets.
Nobody does it better.